This is the Welcome to Humanity podcast with thought leader and transformative psychiatrist, Dr. Fred Moss. This show focuses on the betterment of humanity on a global scale. Each episode will leave you enlightened, inspired, and ready to make an impact in your world. Welcome to the show. Welcome to your life. Welcome to humanity. Here's Dr. Fred.
What do we got here? We got like a spectacular day, right? Like another spectacular day. The supreme challenges of what it is to live, and then the gifts and joys, ecstasy and pain, misery, and every experience under the sun appears to be amplified in the world that we're living in. Like I have access to any of those things with a flip of my switch. You know, it's pretty amazing.
I think you cannot say it better than that. So we should wrap the show right there because that was beautiful. And it is the greatest show on earth, right? And every moment, I'll start with some cliches. Every moment's an opportunity to have an experience. And you don't want to be Pollyanna guy and not feel things. When things are sad, you feel them and you don't try to stuff them so they pass through. And then there's glory and ecstasy and bliss. But most of the time, for at least me and a lot of people, the basics are met, you know, and I know a lot of people suffer in the world and I feel for that too.
Oh, yeah.
And I wish we all would come together and help each other because this is the Garden of Eden. There's more than enough. It's just too much hoarding and greed and selfishness. But today, just a gorgeous day. And I find in Florida, I live by the beach, but it's simple stuff. Everything I did today pretty much was free and available to anybody. It wasn't about spending money. It was about being outside, the sunshine, riding a bike, walking on the beach, talking to friends, a meditation, some yoga stretching. I ate a few oranges. I had a juice. I mean, all for under, $10? Easy, maybe $8. And then I get to be on the air with you. I have my show, What Matters Most, which seems to be expanding as quickly as the coronavirus. I mean, the audience just keeps growing.
Yeah, good.
Yeah.
Let me get my listeners up to speed with what's going on here, because maybe we'll start this airing from the beginning, which we said we might do anyways. But I am just honored, pleased, and really just thrilled to have the guest I have on today. So Paul Dolman is my guest, and I only know Paul secondarily, actually. We share a mutual friend who knew that the two of us could get along well together. And it wasn't too long ago, just a few months ago, where I was on Paul Dolman's podcast as a guest, and I've had an opportunity to look at a little bit at his list, the people he's interviewed, and it's kind of ridiculous to include me in that list, but it's really, really great that I have made the cut to be on Paul Dolman's list. And now today I get to return the favor. So today Paul gets to be on my podcast, and my listeners, or our listeners, Paul, get to take a peek at another conversation that we get to have in a different setting, a little bit of a different setting than where we were last time, but to tell you the truth, not that different. So let me say a couple words about you, Paul, and I want you to chime in if I say something that you think's worth either correcting or amplifying. So Paul, I'm looking at Paul's website, which is paulsamueldolman.com. And it's a beautiful website. It has a most awesome, handsome picture on the front edge of who this man is or what he looks like. And just a gorgeous smile, one who appears to really have some access to the light and dark that we were just talking about. That when you give access to that, wow, what happens is you get some form of ecstasy by allowing for light and dark. I believe that's what you were trying to point at, Paul. Am I right about that?
Well said.
Yeah. And then you look at the stuff that this man is passionate about, and it's all just human. You know, we're just looking at human things, connecting to each other, self-realization, finding wisdom in all things. Caring about others, making a difference, loving who and what is in front of us at any given moment, and many, many other things. I could keep reading, laughing and laughing and laughing again. It's just spectacular. I share so many of those passions. And then, Paul, I didn't know that you were such a prolific writer. I see there's a few of these books with great titles. Hitchhiking with Larry David. Who wouldn't want to know more about that? What a cool title. And then there's Martha Vineyard's Miracles. I've spent a couple days on Martha's Vineyard, and that is one of the most bizarre, weird, and beautiful, shocking, cosmic places I've ever been into. I was there one foggy night incredible, truly. And then 7 Crazy Days in Maui. And then, of course, the What Matters Most book, which I think is that a book that's associated? Is that another title of a book that's not your podcast? Is that what it is?
Yeah, these are all the different books in the series. That was the third. And then there's a fourth in that series called Beverly Hills Hobo, where I was living in this gigantic mansion, sort of like Mr. Magoo, and playing the role of movie producer with real life movie stars and studios and all that kind of stuff. It was like a suit I put on for a little while. And all those are nonfiction, like Larry David really picked me up hitchhiking and endorsed the book. God bless you, Larry. He had a great line. He said, if I'd only known, I would have been funnier and wittier. That's just Larry David's brilliance.
Perfect, Larry David.
True story. Stuck out my thumb and he picked me up on Martha's Vineyard. So that was fun. And I'm just riding the waves. And I love what you said, access to light and dark.
Yeah. Let's talk a little bit about that.
Yeah.
Hey, it's Dr. Fred here, and before we dive into today's conversation with my guest star, Paul Dolman, I want to take just a moment to let you know that I just finished finally putting together the audiobook version of my soon-to-be-released book called The Creative 8. This book teaches a surprisingly easy method for actually healing that utilizes simple creativity and self-expression. And as a listener to the Welcome to Humanity podcast, I want to give you a complete free copy of the audiobook as a thank you, a big thank you for listening to the show. All you need to do is go to welcometohumanity.net/creative. See, I've used this Creative 8 methodology with both psychiatric patients, coaching clients, and even with friends and family with fantastic results. The method takes less than 5 minutes per day, and no kidding, I think you're going to love it. So go ahead and download it at welcometohumanity.net/creative. Now, let's get back to our conversation with Paul Dolman. We talked about that a little bit last time when we were speaking a bit about suicide in the other direction, but let me hear what you got to say about that, because I think there's some real beautiful access to humanity when you open up the gates to light and dark. And I'd love to hear what your views are.
Thank you for the great question, too. And thank you for coming on my show. I have a What Matters Most podcast. It's on iTunes and all these other places, or you can go to paulsamueldolman.com. We've had over 650 shows with incredible people like you, and recently Robert Kennedy Jr., Marianne Williamson, Jack Canfield, recently Saima, Her Holiness, Chief Arvel Looking Horse of the Sioux, Arun Gandhi, the grandson raised by Gandhi.
Wow.
It's just different people and wisdom, some movie stars, documentaries, books, Andrew Yang. I'm just curious.
Wow.
So, and that's part of this spectrum of polarity, which I am fascinated by, or I wouldn't have incarnated here with all you other beings, 7-8 billion, if we lose count every other day. And what this is, everybody wants it to be one side of the coin, mostly the light, not the dark. But I've come to the realization or the belief that you can't have one without the other. Mm-hmm. And it's the contrast that gives each such beautiful richness and depth. And if you don't try to fight it, you can kind of flow between the two, and you do have preferences. You never stay just in one. But if you make choices and you're aware and you're fortunate too, you can have maybe more of this and less of that, like the old buffet line. But you're going to have the contrast. It just comes with it. And everything's impermanent. This too shall pass. So you just have to, I feel like a presence, be the eternal observer, but not bypassing. Very human, very visceral. If you bang your knee, it's going to hurt. And you can't do that. Or if somebody passes away, it's brutal sometimes. And then there's these other things like, these conversations or a sunset, a moonrise, love and loss. It's just participate. Don't tune out. You're one of the great proponents of don't over-medicate. I recently met a woman who I found attractive, but she was drinking a bottle of wine a day and smoking pot every day. And nothing right or wrong. I just thought, why is reality so tough and bad that you want to escape? That's fine. I'm not here to change you or be a prophet or try to shift you. I just think I'm on a different path. I feel there's a path what awakens us, and then there's a path where you try to medicate, get out of reality. And a lot of people are doing that because they don't like the reality. But I believe we create our reality, both externally through a metaphysical thing that I don't understand, but also our perceptions of it. And so through the perception, is it a gift? We're never punished. Is there a lesson there? Is it teaching us? What is this? Let me look at it. Let me look at my reactions to it. What's that based on? Past conditioning. When she said something to me so-and-so 3 weeks ago, was I triggered by, an ancient memory of my mom correcting me or a school teacher or something that just lit me up? Was that a happy memory and why? Without being overly analytical, which you could easily think after my little speech there. But being present, just riding around the bike today, thinking I'm on a planet hurtling through space. Birds are flying over my head, pelicans at 78 degrees. There's a stiff wind, which makes it hard to ride. And then you're with the wind. It makes it easy to ride. It's just incredible.
It is.
I'm here for a few minutes and I've had a great run. I'm really happy that I got a shot.
Yeah. Thank you for that. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. And I have some things that come to mind. My daughter, I was just going to call her 15, and you'll hear why in a minute, but she's not 15. She's actually 26 now.
Wow.
But at 15, we sort of had, you could say, a fracture or a rupture. Something happened where we ended up going in different directions, and actually went on for quite a while, went on for a number of years while I was doing what I was doing and she was doing what she was doing. And we check in a little bit, and it was unclear what was happening. But one thing that was happening was that we were separate from each other. And sometime earlier this year, I believe I might have even mentioned this on your show, I'm not sure, we got back together. There was the time was right for her to reach out to me and get back together. And the first conversation we had was one that was literally as if we had zero time off. It wasn't need to forgive or repair or anything like that. It was just game on. Now we're meant to be with each other. Over the last 6 months, my relationship with her has grown to the point where it could easily be said that my most premium contact on the whole planet right now is with my daughter. Now, stuff like that happens. I spoke with her today because she wanted to speak with me, not to check in on me, not to double check on me, not to, not out of obligation, but just because I was the next person she wanted to talk to, and she had tried to get a hold of me. So she's just brilliant. She's just crazy brilliant. And she said something along the lines of what you said, her version of what you said, that's really what's happening here, is that she's having the best day of her life right this very minute. And although it feels odd, it's what's so. And then I was able to follow up with, so am I, right? And so we both got that looking at everything in its fullest, and we haven't really mentioned to our listeners, for those of us who will catch this soon, we're in the midst of at least the upsurge of the coronavirus restrictions. Who knows how much more is going to happen here, but we're all home. We're all safe at home and generally able to take walks around our house and hoping that the thing passes through without too much carnage and damage as is predicted. Anyways, my daughter and I got to see Paul at this very moment, the gift of both of us meeting, daughter and father, and saying 26 years later to each other how much we loved life and loved each other, and that we were living on the crest of life this very moment simultaneously with all the things going around us and inside of us. It was such an extraordinary moment. It was one of those moments that you get as a dad, or maybe as a person, as a human, where I just was like, you know what? We need to stop and sanctify this 1 second, because this just happened. We just agreed on the fact that we're living the best day of our life, and we're father and daughter sharing that with no one else but each other.
God, how does it get better than that?
Right? It's it doesn't get better except in my own perception. You see, I can step this up. I can show up at the next level. And I think that's what we talked about last time. That's what we're talking about now. What does someone do, Paul, who maybe doesn't want to look at the darkness? There's a lot of darkness that we can look at right now. And it's we just assume be in the light, most people, and then they get sort of intoxicated with the light, I think. And then whatever happens in a correction. But what do you think about people? What kind of direction, ideas, what kind of parables, or what do you have to say to maybe assist my listeners, your listeners, with what it takes to be in the river with the light and the dark? And because that's really where the magic occurs from. I think I heard you say that.
Yes, well said. I would say, well, you said a good couple things in there too. And the key, one of the big keys I feel like is appreciation. And just appreciating being alive and being able to experience things. Some people are shut down, but just to be here. We're here for a while. And if we have some love in our life, and if we don't, let's go create it. Let's not wait for the phone to ring. There's so many people that would be open to just an exchange of kindnesses and compassion, with a pandemic or not. Get involved, serve others, and you'll have more friends than you'll ever could count. But just appreciation, deep appreciation for being, just for being still, not needing to acquire a lot of things, or to have an Instagram presence that impresses, which isn't real, or to have bigger, better, faster, shinier, gleamier. Just to have what you need and be in peace. Find what you love to do and do it. Find the people you love to be around and spend time with them. Make time for them. Make time for yourself. Rest. Eat well. Don't put anything in your body that's bad for you. And learn. Keep learning. Be curious. Go beyond yourself and serve somehow, not as a martyr. Have healthy boundaries. People that drag you down, let them go lovingly. And for those that don't want to look at the light or don't want to look at the dark, God bless you. Maybe at some point you will. I'm not here to tell you what to do. You're on your path. But if you're tuning into this, you probably are a bit curious and on the path of awakening to some degree. You wouldn't be here, I believe. And I believe the universe is infinitely intelligent and highly synchronized. So when you deeply listen to your heart, get still, turn off the TV. I never put the TV on ever. And stay away from the devices within moderation and just close your eyes and just listen and ask to be guided constantly. I'm always asking, what do you want me to do next? Mm-hmm. There's no plan. No one could plan on a pandemic. And so, or whatever, a million other things. So listen and then be guided to your source. You're connected. Everyone's connected. It's just a matter of listening to that channel and then take practice. And also don't be hard on yourself. You're not going to be some Himalayan mountain sage right out of the gate. And maybe you will be because maybe you have that gift, but don't compare. There's no good meditation or bad. There's no better this or that. Just be you. Just be you in the world. You're a one in a zillion, never before or after. Just go be you. Be you and have a beautiful experience and be a loving you. And if you're cranky, sometimes I feel cranky or I'm just for whatever reason, who knows why? I don't know. And then I just think, all right, this too shall pass, and it always does. Same way when I'm elated. Then fortunately that passes too. So just tune in, listen, slow down, take some quiet time, maybe journal, I think is an excellent idea, and observe, listen, engage people. There's so many infinite resources now. The library has a zillion free books and movies. The internet has a zillion free bits of information. Be discerning, but surround yourself with people that lift you up. Surround yourself with content that lifts you up. Don't watch the news, but stay sort of like whatever level you want to be informed and move through the world with an open heart and eyes open and a smile. Don't hug anybody right now because of this thing, but when this passes, and it shall, I guarantee it, everything will pass, then be a light, be a warm, loving person, and you will feel good. It's a selfish choice, by the way. It's not a martyrdom move. That's some basic stuff right there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I probably missed some of them. Thank you for that extensive list, but I want to echo these back to you so you can hear some of the things you said as you were rolling this off. So listen, you said, or seek out connection. Mm-hmm. You said, the power of just appreciation. Mm-hmm. You spoke a bit about like being really compassionate with yourself, including the stuff that you maybe aren't that great at right away, but accepting what's so, like really being with what's so and what isn't so that you get that this is just life as it is and sort of fits in with the other.
Yeah.
Engaging with content, engaging with others, like make sure that you reach out. There's infinite number of people looking for you. I guess 7.8 billion isn't quite the same as infinity, but Lord knows it's pretty close. Mm-hmm. And an infinite amount of actual free content to explore inside of libraries and the internet, for instance. Go ahead and engage. Go ahead and learn. Surround yourself with people who lift you up, like people and content that actually brings you upward, even if that doesn't have to be into the light, by the way, right? It can be more into the whole human experience. Mm-hmm. And then show up with an open heart, open eyes, and really an open smile. And then I think that the culmination of all of this, at least in your list, was to be a light. Like to be a light for yourself and to be a light vessel for others.
That's it.
So that's what you just fed us.
Yeah, that's it. I should write a book about stuff like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, that would be good. I think this is a pretty good list. And people might say, well, yeah. So I'm kind of looking at what my listeners might be saying. We talked about when you were interviewing me on your podcast. You brought me to a space that I'm going to bring you to now. There's some listeners out here right now who are deeply struggling, Paul, right this very minute. They've heard everything we said and they're like, yeah. Well, you have no idea. You're not living in my life. You're not stuck here with these people. You're not unemployed. You didn't just lose a job. You didn't just lose a friend. You're sitting there talking about life is all this or that, and you don't get it. I am miserable, and I've never been more miserable, and I can't see my way out of this mess. And I live with people that I'm not appreciating at all, and I can't leave. And on and on and on and on. What do we say to these people? How can we get them really, if they're tuning into this podcast, they're thinking, who are these two dudes? And what can we have for this group that's on the edge right now? Like, I know, Paul, that I sometimes get out there on that edge. And I think we talked about it when you interviewed me. I know what that edge looks like. I really do. And in fact, it's part of why I can speak like this is because I've been there. But what can we do with that group so that we can be a beacon, someone who gets it, someone who understands that too is part of humanity and that we are one together with them, or we are really sharing at some level? I think you see the question. Have you got anything to say about that?
Oh, well, for one, I've had tough times like that too, just so you know. My life hasn't been some sort of joyride. I went through some excruciatingly tough times where I didn't want to be on the earth. I didn't want to kill myself, but I didn't want to keep living and breathing. It was all perspective and wounds and trauma. And I felt like an alien here. And if I could have seen myself now, but luckily I persevered one breath at a time. I never had a plan to kill myself. But suffering is universal. The Buddha said, all of life is suffering. And It's true. There's suffering. There's no one escapes suffering. But when you're in a dark time, and for those listening who are, I don't want to talk you out of it. It's tough. You're going to have to feel it. Are there any resources or anybody that can help you? Don't be afraid to reach out. That's what got me out, luckily. Healers, friends, brothers and sisters, so to speak, spiritually. I did everything I could that was healthy to try to get through it. It was still hard, and it came back a few times too. There are sadnesses. I lost both my parents within the last 2 years. I'm super close to them. They were my best friends. And I miss them terribly. Even though they live long, beautiful lives, they come back in my dreams almost every night. That's beautiful, but I just miss them. The impermanence is tough. Getting older, even I'm very healthy, but still the aging and temporary nature being as this. But so I hear you and I don't want to talk you out of it. I feel you. And allow yourself that. Whatever you do, don't fight it, because then now you've got two problems.
Right.
You feel like shit, you're suffering, and you think you shouldn't, and you're a piece of shit. No, don't do that. Maybe there's a tough time. And also, by the way, if you're living with an abuser, if you're in a situation you can't escape, maybe someone in jail is listening to this, hopefully with tremendous remorse, or even worse, if you're locked up for nothing you ever did. Good Lord, I don't want to give you any bullshit or like say this or any happy talk. I will say a couple things, though, that I think help me and are universal, seem to help people. Meditation. Not a lot or a little, whatever. Just a few minutes every day. Close your eyes. Don't keep them open. Sit in the world's most comfortable chair and just observe your thoughts. Mine are insane, just so you know. But they're beautiful too.
Yeah.
And inspiration comes. And then I realized too that I am the observing presence, not the mind stream. So there's that eternal thing that doesn't have a good or a bad day. It just experiences stuff. So just do that. And if you want to jot down a few notes, great. Another little thing, even if you're having a really tough time, I guarantee, write a gratitude list. 10 things. If you can see, trust me, it'd be worse if you were blind. If you can hear, and you must if you're listening to this, I don't think we're in Braille yet. So there you have ears. You can hear music. Maybe you can, maybe you can't. Put on the Beatles. Put on Beethoven, Bach, anybody you love, Billie Holiday, and just listen to some music. Hank Williams, the original. And listen to that stuff and give thanks that you can hear and look out. And if there's beauty around you, nature, look up at the stars. Go out there at night. If you can, lay on your back and just look at those infinite stars that are billions and billions of years old. And by the way, stars that have long since existed. That stardust is what you and I and every single thing we ever see, including the Earth, is what the fundamental Play-Doh, which everything is made of. Now, it's inhabited by some incredible energy phenomenon. It's an utter mystery, soul, spirit, whatever you want to call it, phonetics. It only points towards it. So just focus on that. The fact, feel your feelings, don't make it worse. A few minutes of silence. If you like it, just keep doing it regularly, like going to the gym. Small, healthy choices. If you feel like shit, don't watch TV and the news. Don't watch anything negative, like a fast. Write down a gratitude list. Something else that I guarantee can help. If you are at all mobile, take walks. I walk every day for miles. Move your body. Get outside. Move your body. Say hi to people. And if the assholes don't say hi back, who knows what? Maybe they're in a worse place than you. So add that to your gratitude list. I'm not as bad as that joker. So pick up some trash. Do something. But just small baby steps right now. You're not going to be Mr. Joy or Mrs. Joy of living. It's a dark time. Accept it. And then to start doing small baby steps. If you have something to eat, you're literally ahead of billions of people. If you have running water, you're definitely ahead of billions of people. If you have hot water, you're ahead of billions of people. If you have a roof over your head, You're ahead of a lot of people, even in this country. So you have it bad. Those feelings are real, but what you just started to do is give it some perspective, right? If you're not in jail, at least you're free. So slow steps. If you're in a bad situation, can you leave? Walk away. I know change is scary, but move along.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, that's really, really beautiful things. And one of the things that I really appreciate everything you said, and how clean it comes out of your mouth is testament, I think, to you knowing what it is not to do those things.
Mm-hmm.
In other words, you are only speaking to someone who isn't yet doing that because you know what it's like to have not yet done that and then made those decisions and reap the benefits immediately of making simple decisions like that, including just saying hello to someone. Simple things that can have profound, remarkable, like astonishing positive effect on outlook, like on really how things are truly going. Gratitude, like you said, a gratitude list. One of the things I've been exploring recently is this idea that in any situation, no matter what's going on around me, no matter anything that's going on around me, I have a choice that includes being extraordinary in the next minute.
Mm-hmm.
I can be extraordinary having nothing to do with the level of pain, misery, fear, anxiety, unpleasantness I might be experiencing. It's somehow we collapse the world around us or how we perceive the world around us with what fuels our next action. So if we're seeing the world as being miserable or hopeless or negative or unforgiving or any of those things, then it seems like our choice of what to do next becomes more seemingly limited, as if being excellent in that situation is harder than not being excellent. Like it's easier to be miserable and act so than it is to be excellent in the face of seeing the world as being unforgiving.
Well, yeah, everything's your perspective. If you think the world's against you and that you're doomed and life sucks, then I believe if that's the case, that's what life gives you. It's like ordering food at a restaurant. It's like, what do you want?
Exactly, right?
I'll have this swordfish. They don't bring you a hamburger. So if you think life sucks and you're at the mercy of it, that's what you're going to get. And if you think, wow, God, the universe is friendly and loves me and it's going to do all this great stuff for me, I wonder. And then if something happens that we didn't want, we might go, okay, but I wonder what it's up to now. And then, okay. And then, so this is something good. And then, and on and on and on. So, And I think we're literally reality creators.
Yeah, we're bold creators of our own reality. And I know that in the last few days, in the midst of this outrageous experience that we're collectively in on together, at least like 3 or 4 billion of us, there's like a disorientation at a very high level as to what was and what will never be again kind of thing. And we don't know which things are just not going to be the things that we used to take for granted as our surroundings simply aren't going to be the same again. Simple as that. They're just not. Even if this thing ended next week, which it doesn't appear to be ready to do, we would have a new world in front of us. So there's like an idea that even despite all of that, I still always have the opportunity to be an author of my next action and to take an action that's empowering or beautiful or excellent or spectacular, extraordinary. Like I can be great. I can be amazing with my next action. And all of life shifts when I take on that creative role of being the author of my next action. All of a sudden, I am not being dragged around by the mercy of the life. I am, in fact, creating the life around me. And that's exactly the life I get when I make that shift.
Well, once we take responsibility and ownership, at least we have some power control over the next moment and the next and the next. If we think we're just at the mercy of some evil, nebulous, abstract force, right? Trying to do the right religious dance steps to somehow make it okay. That's horrible.
It is, right?
So what are we going to create next? And just my big challenge is not to be really too severe as an inner critic, which has lurked since birth. Somehow should be perfect in perfect hindsight. How hard is that? Thanks, great guy. And just that we miss the mark. And the original meaning of sin comes from the Latin word of missing the mark. We're human. We miss the mark. No matter how great these certain beings are, they miss the mark in all aspects, Every Beatles song wasn't a masterpiece. And so it's kind of, I feel like just take your power and say, hey, my experience is my own. And sometimes I'll even get on my own case because I know I have it made and I feel like I'm in a shitty mood for a little while. It doesn't usually last long. It's so funny. Someone said the other day, a whole bunch of stuff happened. But so they said, wow, you had a bad day. And I had to be real precise. I said, actually, it was about 2 hours. That was kind of shitty. The rest of the day was fabulous.
Oh, isn't that great?
And then I just laughed because it was a perspective. It's like, oh my God, let's see, you've had like 6 great days. And then the next time you had like a shitty couple hours based on some stuff, you reacted. And it's funny, I kept getting tested on this one thing. And by the third time, because there was polarity, every time something amazing happened, this one situation, literally within minutes, would crop up.
Mm-hmm.
And the first time I got mad thinking, God damn it, let me enjoy my good situation. And I thought, oh, it's polarity. And then the second time, like, oh, shoot, I felt it. Okay, it's trying to pull me out of this other great thing. And it kind of neutralized, but I didn't fall. Then the third time I said, ha ha, very funny. No, I'm fine.
Mm-hmm.
And so I don't really say it again, maybe, or it'll come in a different costume.
Right. In a different costume.
It's life.
Yeah, it is. What we're describing here is really just essential life. It is. I noticed some things this week. I've seen some patients. So as a psychiatrist, a telepsychiatrist, I've been seeing some patients in Illinois. I live here in Los Angeles, and some of them are more aware and some of them are less aware of this virus, the epidemic. And the ones who are not aware of it are actually doing way better than the ones who are aware of it.
Interesting. That's interesting.
One guy came in wearing a Cubs shirt and he wasn't demented. He's not demented. He's not. He's just in his own world, but he's just doesn't read the news or watch TV. And so he came in because it's March and he's wearing his Cub jersey. And, he knows there's something going on. And his stores are closing early and stuff. And he's like, yeah. I said, I think this might be the year of the Cubs. He goes, yep, this is the year they're going to win. And I'm like, it's so great. It's so great. Or my, some cats now, and they don't know anything about there being some sort of context that colors the world and then creates an impossibility of playing or something. No, they play when it's time to play. And it's something to get how we really are the author of both the comfortable and in a lot of ways how we manage the uncomfortable if we give into it. Yeah.
I love that. And I was saying this the other day to a friend, like, what if I came back like 2 years from now and I missed all the politics of the last 10 years and the plagues. And I was just on some island with a beautiful woman I was madly in love with. We had a dog and I was just writing the worst poetry in the world, but who cared? I was so happy. I was like Tom Hanks in Castaway after he kind of got the island under control. And I came back and they're like, oh my God, you missed everything. Like Donald Trump was president for a while. I'm like, get out of here. You're lying. That stupid, ignorant fuck. Oh no, and it was terrible, and the world almost ended, and every day we'd say, like, lie and say crazy, stupid shit. Y'all are lying. Let me see a newspaper. Let me find. I'm going to Google that. I'm going to kill y'all. But the thing is, for all the ups and downs and the roller coaster, you wouldn't even know. You'd have been oblivious.
Yeah.
Same way those Japanese soldiers were on those islands and didn't know the war had ended. They're like defending the thing.
Yeah, right.
So, you raise an excellent bigger point. How much do you really need to know? Now, I stay somewhat informed because I have this show, What Matters Most. And, if I'm having congressmen and people running for president and world figures on the show, they can't say Donald Trump's the president. And I say, no, he's not. Like, it would kind of ruin, I don't think people would come back on.
Yeah, probably not.
And I have spiritual people going, oh, don't do political shows. It's negative. Don't do negative. And then I have the super high-end business guys on Wall Street and the big politician people. What are you doing wasting your time with that spiritual mumbo jumbo, dude? You're like this brilliant guy doing all this great political commentary. You just need to do that. And I do a music show and everyone's like, what's that? And I'm interested in everything. I'm a holistic being and I'm having a ball and I'm curious about it. So I wouldn't want to be one-dimensional. I'm not branding myself. So many people are trying to brand themselves that in the middle of the pandemic, their page is still a bunch of new age bullshit and they're getting you to sign up for some yoga thing. Mm-hmm. They have no opinion on anything. I, dissuade one customer. That's okay. That's not who I am. That feels contrived.
Right.
So again, though, back to the core thing is, what do you need to know? I probably know more than I need to know. If I was being asked by the Orange Menace, Trump, or whoever, or the next president, hopefully it's not Mr. Ed or something like that. We've been on a downward trajectory. But to have policy positions, then I should be really informed.
Right.
If I was an expert in pandemics, yeah, that's why I do my show, to inform people and to learn myself. But I don't know if I need to know every nuance and get upset and have a bad night's sleep or upset my state and digestion to know about things that I have absolutely no control over. Zero. Why would I do that? I don't watch the seal hunting channel where they go and they beat up the seals or other cruelty because it'll just ruin my day. I'm a human being. I'm going to feel horrible. I have empathy. So don't do that. What's important? What matters most? That's what I would say to your question.
That's great. That's a great answer. And it's a great segue to where I'm going to go here now, because I am going to take you not so much to your own personal branding, Paul, not to what you're trying to do now, but to really who you've been. And you mentioned your show and you mentioned what matters most and all these people, different, brilliant people in multiple different categories that you find yourself interested in everything, like you said. So tell us a little bit, who is Paul Dolman? And we've already heard a little bit of how your heart works, but what kind of things are you doing on the planet? And if someone wants to know a little bit more about you, maybe you can say something like that, but give us a little taste of what is Paul Dolman and what are you about today? What kind of difference are you making?
Oh, I like that. So I've already mentioned the linear things I do, which isn't what I am. It's more of an extension about what I am and I'm being. At the core, if I was going to be really super truthful, metaphysical, big view, I'm actually just a multidimensional energy phenomenon here for a little while in a space-time context. So that's ultimately what I am. But if I said that, trying to come back to the country from another country, they might put me in a special room.
Yeah, and I'd be your doctor, Paul, so I'd take care of you.
You would be my doctor and vouch for me, saying I'd be all set then. I tell him I did take the meds I never take. So, but what I'm trying to do in the world is just basically be an authentic, loving presence who's very in the moment with wherever I am here with you today, which is an absolute joy. But I was just at the bike shop getting some new pedals and I was really there. And I got to air my tires over at the auto place and had a great talk with the auto mechanic guys because it's really slow and what they were afraid, what it was like for their kids at home. Just beautiful souls. Every single one of them. I want to buy local, so instead of making my own espresso, I rode the bike over earlier this morning to the little 2-bit coffee place and threw down a few coins to get their local brew because it almost isn't as good as mine, not to brag, but I just thought, I'll be there. And I had a great talk with the counter staff. I was the only one, sadly. And just smiling at people, saying hello, being present. If I see a piece of trash and I pick it up, throw it in a can, I do. Dog wanders over, I give him love. That's no sacrifice.
Right.
And just curious. I was on the aisle the other day at Publix and some older African-American woman was looking at something and she asked me a question. I ended up having a beautiful talk with her about to not eat sugar and dairy during this time and because I happen to know a bit about nutrition from my own research and the people that come on. I just interviewed a great guest, Dr. Habib Sadeghi, who founded the Beehive of Healing and is an expert in that. So I had some things I could hand to her. Probably the only time our souls will ever cross in this life. Think about that.
Yeah.
So I'm just trying to be a guy moving through the world, not as a fake happy talk guy, but just an authentically grateful presence. I walk into the grocery store, I see a lot of mopey faces, but I immediately almost want to get on my knees and thank God I'm not over here in those marshes trying to find something to eat like a squirrel.
Yeah.
I'd be dead in 2 weeks. I'm fucking pathetic. So, I've got like 3 billion choices in the grocery store. Sadly, just about 99% of them are unhealthy, but there are 1% where I can eat organic and eat fresh and local. Mm-hmm. What a gift. I'm living better than any emperor or king 100 years ago or before for thousands of years. And I'm just a dude here doing a few books and doing a show. So I'm just kind of moving through the world trying to keep it real. I never duck a question. I don't want to ever tell anyone else's privacy, but if someone asks me a real question, I try to give the best answer I can. I try to make time for people and not plan a lot because I'm like, God, universe, spirit, infinite intelligence, I'm going to go out on a limb and think you probably know better than my small mind. So why don't you just sort of move me around like an enlightened little pawn, like Mr. Magoo? And I'll tell the listeners, man, the synchronicities, unbelievable. And it blows my mind. It literally blows my mind, my linear mind. The bigger me is like, God,
for sure.
He gets surprised every time. Isn't that fun? And I woke up this morning, I thought, holy shit, another day. It's been a great day. That's all I know.
Yeah.
I'm not thinking too far ahead. So that's who I am. That's how I'm moving through the world. I like to be creative. I like to learn. I love people. I love nature. I live close to the beach. That's a preference. I was in Nashville for a long time. Great place, lots of friends. But I like being by the ocean. I love looking at it. I love swimming in it. Mm-hmm. I love walking on that sand. Mm-hmm. Puts things in perspective. At night, I like to look up at the stars and wonder and just think, God, it's awfully big. And I'm so small, so temporary. But yet I'm a piece of the ultimate pie.
Oh, I love that. Thank you. So, wow. I don't know if you know this, but just speaking with you, it just reaffirms the possibilities that For me, there are times, I'd say day after day, and sometimes for a little bit protracted. You're right. Probably typically a real long one only lasts 2 hours, even though when I'm in it, it feels like it's going to last forever. Right? I'm pretty sure when I'm feeling miserable that I have found the truth.
Fucking baby.
And when I'm feeling great, I'm pretty sure that I'm going to be feeling miserable sometime soon. It's pretty funny how that works. It would be great if I had that going in the other direction. So the idea here is that, what I wanted to say was that you're injecting me as another human, as a soul in communication or connection. You're injecting me with, when I'm feeling really powerfully creative, then I actually get to drop everything that pretends to be powerful and great. And I just honestly am that because we all are, is the point. Not because I have special skills over anyone, but no, I, like all of us, create the world around me. And so, this idea of being blown away, like being completely blown away by the shock of the miracles and magic that happens when we ask to just be moved around like a pawn, like an enlightened pawn, is something I can relate to at a very core level. So I totally appreciate you bringing that to our awareness. Thank you so much.
I'm going to have to listen to this show, too, when I'm in one of my bad moods.
Exactly.
I'll be like, oh, yeah, remember? And I'll be like, shut up to myself.
Right. Yeah, right. She'll be like, I never said that.
Yeah.
When I did say it, I was delusional or something like that. It's interesting how we go.
Oh, no.
We're going to start winding down. I really could talk to you for hours, and I look forward to our next conversation as soon as that can be.
Amen.
And where are you? You're on the Gulf side of Florida? Or you're on the Atlantic side? Where are you?
I'm near St. Augustine Beach, near Jacksonville, north of Daytona, in a tiny little place. There's not much going on. And I ride the bike 90% of the time. I got a Prius, a tank of gas, lasts about a month. Keep it small, local, simple. And then I go to New England. I'm up in Martha's Vineyard in the summertime. And that's where Larry David picked me up. And
I see.
I do my show. I was planning. Here you go. It's so funny. Every time I break out a plan, the universe laughs hysterically. I was thinking that, after maybe late April, May, I was going to go to Europe and wander around for a few months, get inspired and record shows over there.
Oh, yeah.
I guess not.
Probably not.
Yeah. I didn't buy a ticket or anything. So I was like, I had that sort of like, maybe I'll do this. And so maybe not. But I'm super happy today. And that's kind of where I'm at. I'm in Florida until further notice. Mm-hmm. And it's gorgeous.
Beautiful. Paul, how can my listeners get in touch with you, follow you, tell us more about your show, tell us more what they can learn or how they can maybe even contact you? What would that be?
Absolutely. And thank you for this incredible opportunity. I do love talking to you. From the get-go, we've been like instant connection, super easy, lifelong friends. And I was super grateful for that. There's several ways. One, go to my website, paulsamueldolman.com. You can email me through there. You can also find me on Facebook, Instagram. I mostly just put out photos. There's no branding. Facebook, I have all kinds of commentary and I'm all over the map. I have a Twitter account, MVY Hitchhiker. If you Google me, a lot comes up. I don't Google myself. I think I might find stuff like opinions. Whatever. I don't read the good or the bad. I'm just super happy. It's like not knowing, like the guy on the island. And then also, if you just go to iTunes and type in what matters most, you'll hear some great people. I just had Irvin Laszlo, who's been nominated a few times for the Nobel Peace Prize.
Wow.
On the show. And he's in Tuscany under quarantine. He's written like 100 books. So I can't get too uppity. I've written 6. 100 to 6. That doesn't look like a good score on the scoreboard there. But I'm not competing because I don't need to compete. I'm shocked if I wrote anything. So
yeah, some of us haven't written a book yet, Paul.
Yeah, I do it for myself, and I never thought I'd be right. But whatever. It's kind of, yeah. So if you want to get in touch with me through any of those channels, find me. I would love to hear from you. Keep the light, and I'm here to serve. That's all I've been asking every day for years. What do you want me to do? How can I help? Right. And you have to be discerning and loving, but mostly my life's a big yes. Sure. Yes. Every time someone says like us, it always turns out great. Do you want to meet so-and-so? Yes. Hey, so-and-so would love to have you over for lunch or dinner. Yes. Do you want to mentor this young guy who has a question? Yes. Because life keeps saying yes to me. So I just want to keep that flow going. I don't want to stop the flow. Yes, 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 yes.
Yeah.
Say yes. Say yes. It's a miracle.
Paul, your sound has changed in the last 30 seconds. So we lost whatever, maybe you moved or something like that, but you became inaudible the last 30 seconds.
That was the universe cutting me off because I'm sitting in the exact same spot. Can you hear me? All right.
Okay. I can hear you, but it really got very static.
Weird. I'm right here. Nothing happened. That's the universe going, enough of you, Dolman.
I think that could be it, actually. We call them the elves back over here. And
they definitely come too.
They really do. They're very real, extremely real.
Go in peace to love and serve the Lord, my brother.
Exactly. Who I've had on today is my good friend and soulmate, Paul Samuel Dolman. And we've just had, I think, a splendid conversation about life, about what's important, about what isn't important, about what it takes to actually get that this moment is all we have and that it's beautiful. It's not only beautiful, it's like all of it. And in order to have that, we have to accept the light and dark and everything that's going around with us. And we all have the capacity to be the creator of our next moment, the creator of our next moment. And boy, with that opportunity to be the author and the creator of our next moment, the possibility of being extraordinary and then enjoying this moment at the very highest level becomes very, very real for anyone and all people who are willing to take that on.
Can't say better than that. Bullseye.
Yeah. Independent of the circumstances, right? Like totally independent of the perceived circumstances. After all, it's simply perceived circumstances. And so it's really, really great. My guest has been Paul Dolman. It's been a pleasure. So again, Paul, thanks for joining us. It's just been spectacular. Welcome to humanity. I love you, brother, and keep doing exactly what you're doing because you're making a huge difference around the world.
Thank you for that. Until the next time, much love, much love, much love. Peace out. Bye.
Peace out. Bye. Thank you so much for tuning in today. I really loved my conversation with Paul Dolman. I mean, what a man's man. So kind, so generous, such a great listener, and a good storyteller too. And the man just brings heart and soul to everything he does. I hope you enjoyed it even a little bit as much as I did. Man, that was fun. And maybe as you were listening to it, you thought, wow, I know someone who would really need or want to hear this episode. Go ahead and reach out to them right now. Invite them to listen and to subscribe to the Welcome to Humanity podcast. Speaking of subscribing, I would like to ask you a favor that, although small for you, would be really large for me and my listeners. Go ahead and take a moment to hit the subscribe button on your podcast player. That way, you'll get the latest episodes as they become available. And next, if you appreciate what we're doing here, if these conversations are altering your life in any way, just go ahead and take 5 minutes to leave a review on Apple Podcasts. Definitely appreciate that as well. Subscribes and reviews are the two biggest ways we can reach more listeners with the Welcome to Humanity podcast. So if what we're doing here is making a difference for you, go ahead, pay it forward, subscribe, and leave a review. Also, to catch up on past episodes you may have missed, head on over to welcometohumanity.net/podcast. This is Dr. Fred. It's been a really, really fun time today. Thank you for joining us on the Welcome to Humanity podcast. We'll catch you on the flip side. Bye for now.